Hello, my name is Alex, but I'm also known as Chibi Yuto, and welcome to another video review of Clamp's Doujinshis. In this video, I'm doing the review for Doujinshi number 9, released by Clamp, and it's called Shoten. Shoten is a huge deal for Clamp. It's a big milestone for them because it's their second original doujinshi, and so it's not the first one. The first one, as you might remember, was the Veda disco version, but this is still very big for them. There were 6 volumes of Shoten, so this is the first one, and an extra one, a bonus volume, let's call it this way. Why is it so important? Because they introduced it here for the first time, the Clamp campus, which is a setting where they would play around with all their characters, and all the characters would coexist in this setting. And as you know, Clamp campus would later be featured in many of their works as professional manga artists, such as Niju ni Menso ni Onegai, Gakuen Tokei Duklion, and of course Clamp Gakuen Tanteidan, also X, and briefly in Tokyo Babylon. Anyway, a variety of works that they would show the Clamp campus, and this is actually the first time that they introduced it. The meaning of Shoten is a laughing matter. I think there are several meanings for it, depending on which kanji you use, but the kanjis that they are using here is for laughing matter, which you can expect to be about a parody of the work. So there were 6 Shoten volumes. This is volume 1 that I'm covering here, but there are other 5 that I will be covering along the next videos. And the Shoten books, are the books that Clamp put the hardest efforts on it. You can really tell that they were putting a lot of love and a lot of passion into it. This is just the first one, but the other ones will be more and more stylish and full of extras, very extravagant and very extra. And they really achieved that with Shoten. So basically, Shoten was Clamp's own little experiment where they would play around with their original characters. So we are not talking about parodies here. This isn't about a famous work. This is 100% Clamp's creation. So all of the characters and stories that appear here is their own original creation, which is really amazing because it's a very long, thick book, as you can see. But then again, of course, they were still 11 members at the time. And this is one of the hardest Shoten doujinshis to find. Maybe because it's the first one and there were less copies available. So out of the 6 books, and including the extra one, this was the hardest to find, and also kind of a more expensive. Shoten 1 also came with this little appendix, which I will be covering as well. It's a very thin booklet. There's not many pages in it, but it's a nice little extra that if you're considering buying this book, this doujinshi, make sure it has it, because at the time it was sold back in 1988, this would come with every copy. But these days, you know, in the second-hand shops, it might not include it. So keep an eye for this guy. If it's something that you are interested in having, make sure you find a copy that has both versions, so the book and the appendix. So without further ado, here's the review for Shoten number 1. Alright, so this is the front cover. This is the back cover. This is the spine. So you can see here that it says Shoten, it's nothing serious. I love that. The release date for it is October 10th, 1988. It's a pretty thick book, as you can see. And the finishing is also interesting. You have a glossy title, shiny silver title. Although the upcoming Shoten books will be even better than this. So here on the front cover, it was drawn by Mokona Apapa. So this is and here we see a very curious pair. We see Kujaku and Yasha, and they seem to be in a romantic position or something. And but on the back cover, apparently it's a movie shoot or something. So you see this guy holding a sign, and that says Shoten, a camera, a microphone. So apparently they are making a movie or something. So I think it's an interesting touch. So it makes a full illustration when you hold it like this. And it's an interesting pair because it's not, as you know, in Veda, Kujaku and Yasha were never a pair. Sometimes Clamp would hint that they would be Ashura's parents, but other than that, it was never really explored by Clamp. I have a theory that this was more something from Sei Nanao, that in her mind that these two were actually a couple, or she would make stories about it. In fact, there's one story in this book where these two, it's clearly a romantic story about them. But I don't think Okawa thought that way, or maybe not as much. So that's why we don't see this couple more or later in the actual story. As you know, Yasha and Ashura is the one true pair, let's call it this way. So here you have number 9 because this is the book 9 released by Clamp, the Doujinshi number 9. On the front cover, there's sorry, not front cover, the first page, there's like this soft, transparent, nice page covering the illustration. Here you have a Shoten in Romanji, and here you have a Shoten in Kanji. It's a very nice touch. Again, it's a very classy and very luxurious way of beginning your doujinshi, I would say. This is clearly Taishaku-ten. I don't know who this guy is, forgive me, but yeah, it's a nice illustration. So here we have the index, and again they are sorting it out in that weird way. Here you have a Clamp Gakuen, Clamp Campus stories. They are gathered here, although they don't really follow an order. It's a pretty sorted out in this in the book. Then you have the Imonoyama clan stories. Then the Veda stories, the other stuff, some illustrations, and etc. Other stuff here. I don't know exactly what this is, so I'm not gonna be much detail about it. The first comic that we have, it's by Mokona Apapa, is this one here. So she opens this doujinshi. As you can see, her style has improved a lot. This is a story about, this first group of story that I don't know what it is, even though we do see Nokoru and some other characters from Clamp Campus appearing here. It's not a very long story. Even though it's the first one, it's the opening story, it's not very long. Even though it's longer than what they used to do in the previous doujinshis. I love Nokoru with sunglasses. Yeah, so this is the end of it. This is by Mick Nikoi. So there's 2 stories of this. This is type A, I think there's a type B later in the book. So Miknikoi for you, it's not very long, it's over already. Then we have this one by Tamayo Akiyama, and it's about Rigu Veda, and centered on Karura-o, it seems. So Tamayo's take on Rigu Veda. It's not a very long story as well. Here we have another Rigu Veda story, and this one by Sei Nanao. This is the one I mentioned in the beginning of the video, that it's about Yasha and Kujaku. So you see here they have a clearly a romantic story. And again, it always amazes me how very distinct her style was compared to the other club members. Here we have a Lisa Sei, and this story is about Clamp Gakuen, if I am not mistaken. No, it's also from the first batch that I can't really tell what it is. It's a very short story, only 2 pages. Oh, here we have a novel written by Satsuki Igarashi and illustrated by Tamayo Akiyama. Very interesting. I think it's called Seinen no Asu, the future of boys. At least that's what it's written in the corners. This is a interesting thing. It's called Yaoi Do Check or Yaoi Do Check. Basically, it seems that you check the bits that you identify with, and then you have a ranking from 0 to 25 based on each clan member. So I guess like it would show the rank of how much of an yaoi fans they were. So here it's interesting because the one with the highest score, it's Shinya Omi, and the second one, the one just below it, it's Nanase Okawa, which is really funny, and then Mokona Papa. So from the current formation of Clamp, you can say that Okawa and Mokona are the top yaoi fans. This might have changed, of course, but I think all of them really like it, of course. Here we have an illustration by Shinya Omi and a comic by Okyon, a comic by Shinya Omi. This one is about Clamp Campus, Clamp Gakuen. And here, yes, I was right. So Type B, it's the sequel, or I don't know if it's a sequel, but it's the other part of Nikoi's story that we've seen in the beginning. I can't really recognize these characters, so I don't know if they ever went forward with them. This is by Tamayo Akiyama. It's on the etc. Actually, the other category. So it's not about Clamp Campus. It's a very short story, only 3 pages. Illustration by Shinya Omi about the same story, about this comic here. This is an ad for Shoten 2. So they were already working on it, and they already had I think they had a release date. Yes, they did. They had a release date here. So they were saying about the format, the number of pages. They were also making an ad for the upcoming Karura something. I can't remember exactly the name right now, but this is also an upcoming doujinshi. These are ads for the other circles that they were in, or maybe they will be featured in. For example, Okawa is featuring this one here, Nakamori, Kazue as well. So it's basically ads. This is that section where they would say, they would post news and talk about random stuff and some information. The now classic staff page. So they were still 11 members at the time, and as usual, each member would select a character to represent themselves. In this case, they were all from the Imonoyama family. So you can see they were all, it's a very, very, very large family. Here's some stories or anecdotes or facts that happened with them recently. I can't say what they are, which really frustrates me. This is something about the Black Cat and Okawa. This is something related to Mokona, and they mentioned the kids magazine that they would later publish one of the first works, the Hagun Senseki, that was never finished. It was dropped by chapter 4. It was published in this magazine Kids, and there was another magazine called Comic Box from the same publisher. So they were talking about this. I don't know exactly the details. These are recommendation in this corner right here. So they were recommending stuff, games, movies, TV shows. I don't know, or all sort of things that they were liking at the time, that they were really into. This is an interesting story. I did not. I don't have all the full details, but I was able to understand a bit of it. And from what I could understand, this relates a very amusing story that they were really close to the deadline of this book, Shoten, and there was some problem or something with Okawa's word processor. In case you don't know, word processors are machines that I want to say that they predated personal computers. So it looks like this, just like this, and there was a problem with it, and apparently she had to type everything again for her stories, I think. So they were talking about this, which seems amusing now, but I can imagine must have been very frustrating to them at the time. Okay. So here we have another, back to the stories. This is clearly a Clamp Campus story, and this one is by Lisa Say, and it has color pages, which is nice. Right in the middle of the book has a nice splash page here. This is a very long comic. If that's the one I'm thinking, it's really, really long. It's the longest from this book. Yeah, I think it is. So many of these characters would later appear in other works. Yeah, so it's a very, very long comic. By Lisa Say, the same author as Combination, in case you don't remember her. Yeah, as I said, it's a very long comic, lots of action, boys with suits, or yeah, suits. Yeah, it's actually not from the Clamp Gakuen, not from Clamp Campus. It's from the first category that I don't really know what it is. This one here. Yeah, I would rather not risk it. So it's a very long one. It's just out of curiosity. We're talking about. It started on page 75 and up to 122. Yeah, it's this long. It's pretty long. It's almost like a magazine chapter that's published in a manga magazine. Way to go, Lisa Say. Here we have a crossword puzzle. about Shoten, I would say. A text by Nakamori Kazue. The illustrations were not drawn by any of the clan members. It's a guest artist, so it's not someone out of the 11 members. It's a kind of longish novel by Nakamori Kazue, and it's nice because the pages have this different style. Then we have this story Passenger by Soshi Hisagi. She was also a clan member that left a bit later than this. At the time she was still a member. Two stories actually. This is also from her, so here we have an omake from Lisa Say from the long story. So as if it wasn't long enough, we have an omake for it. Yeah, I think it's curious that some of the scenes looked exactly the same, but they might have something different, maybe an alternative ending or something. This is a novel by about the Imonoyama clan, and it's weird because here in the index, they in the credits for original author, they credit Clump 42 years something. I don't know what this is, but they don't use Clump. They use this suffix here that I don't really understand what it means or why they did it. But the novel was written by Okawa. The art is by Lisa Sei, Seinanao, and Mokona Apapa. So they switch roles. As you can see here on this very illustration, you have this is by Lisa Sei, absolutely, and this is by Seinanao for sure. So even in the color illustration, they mix their arts, and the text was written by Okawa. So here, this is probably by Lisa Sei. Then I would say this is by Seinanao. It clearly matches her style. Then we have text by Okawa. I would say this is Mokona, most likely. Then this one got me. I would say it's Lisa Sei. This one as well. This one clearly Seinanao. This one Lisa Sei. It's a very long novel. I would say Lisa Sei as well. This one as well. And I'm not sure, it could be Mokona or Lisa Sei. Then we have this comic. Who did this? Let me check. Oh, they also don't give a credit for any specific member. They just put this group Clamp 42. Maybe it's the sum of their... No, it can't be. Sorry, I was about to say some nonsense. And yeah, these were all they don't really... I think they are calling themselves this group made by Okawa, Lisa Sei, Seinanao, and Mokona, the Clamp 42 something. And it was clearly a mixture. As you can see here, this was drawn by Seinanao, this was by Lisa Sei, Seinanao again. So they didn't want to... It's really hard to give credits when they are blending each other's art. So as I said, they were already doing this very early on. It's not something... We do see it in the more recent works, such as Holic and Cardcaptor Sakura, but they were already testing it out in their Doujinshi days, which is amazing. Yeah, it's very interesting. And this story closes the book. So it's a very long book, but I hope I was able to show you all the juicy stuff. It's not over yet. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the book came with this little appendix. which has a very interesting cover because it features Soma and Kendapao, and it's a clear parallel with the book, the cover of Shoten 1, where we have a male couple here, and here we have a female couple. But unlike the cover of the actual book, where we have an unofficial pair, let's put it this way, here we have an official pair with Soma and Kendapao. And it's interesting because here we have Yasha's sword, and here we have Kendapa's harp. It's very meant to be a mirror of this illustration. So this is basically a booklet, very, very short, and there's some introduction text about Shoten, perhaps comments from Clamp, I would say. Then we have this comic by Tamayo Akiyama, which has nothing to do with Clamp Campus whatsoever. Then I think this is by Mick Nikoi. There is no index, so I can't really tell. This one is by Seina Nao. And this one is by Mokona Apapa. And to close it, there is an ad for Shoten number 2, which would come out on Christmas Day of that year, 1988. And this is it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching the video. It's been a real pleasure making them for you. And in case you don't know, I have a website about Clamp. The address is chibiuto.com. I invite you all to visit it. Until next time, bye!